Chapter 18. The DuPont Masquerade, New Orleans, July 1925. The DuPont mansion on St. Charles Avenue was a beacon of wealth and power, its marble facade gleaming under the gaslights, its wrought iron gates adorned with gilded fleur-de-lis. Inside, the city's elite gathered for a masquerade ball, their laughter and music spilling into the humid night, a stark contrast to the darkness Julien Dubois knew lurked beneath the surface. He stood in the shadows across the street, adjusting the borrowed tuxedo that still felt tight across his shoulders, his dark eyes scanning the crowd through the gates. The anointed silver medallion hung around his neck, its glow dim but steady, a reminder of the danger they were walking into. At 35, Julien was a man hardened by the battles he'd fought, against Victor Leroux, against the vampires and ghouls, against the ghosts of his own past. His Creole heritage and Catholic faith were now intertwined with a supernatural reality he could no longer deny, the spirit girl from his childhood, her hollow eyes in the bayou, marking him as the marked one, a constant whisper in his mind. Leroux's escape at the plantation house, his revelation of the DuPont family as his benefactors, had raised the stakes, turning this investigation into a war against the city's corrupt elite. Julien's hand brushed the rosary in his pocket, a reflex that felt more like a shield than a prayer, his resolve steeled by the need to protect Celeste and Eloise. To stop Leroux before he could complete his ritual, Celeste Moreau stood beside him, her black evening gown shimmering with sequins, a feathered mask in her hand, her auburn hair swept into an elegant updo that made her look like she belonged among the elite, though Julien knew she was anything but. At 28, she was a journalist driven by the truth, her small derringer tucked into a hidden pocket of her gown, her purse, holding Leroux's journal, her notepad, and the 1895 case file, slung across her shoulder. The journal's mention of a new order for New Orleans, orchestrated by the DuPonts and Leroux, had lit a fire in her, her green eyes sharp with determination as she adjusted her mask, her voice a low whisper. "We blend in, find Marcel DuPont. He's the patriarch, the one most likely to be Leroux's contact. We get him alone, get answers." Eloise Dubois fidgeted nearby, her borrowed gown a deep red that matched her lipstick, a simple mask covering half her face, her dark hair pinned up, her beads replaced by a string of pearls for the night. At 25, she was a jazz singer stepping into a world far removed from the speakeasy she knew, her earlier betrayal, coerced by Leroux, still a weight on her shoulders, but her resolve to make things right stronger than ever. "I don't like this, Julien," she whispered, her voice trembling, her gaze darting to the mansion. "What if Leroux's here? What if they know we're comin'?" Julien's jaw tightened, his hand resting on her shoulder, a gesture of reassurance as he spoke, his Creole accent soft but firm. "If Leroux's here, we'll deal with him," he said, his dark eyes meeting hers. "But we need to know how deep this goes, the DuPonts, the new order. We get in, get what we need, get out. Stay close, both of you." They slipped through the gates, joining the stream of masked guests, their invitations, forged by a contact of Celeste's at the Times-Picayune, passing scrutiny with a nod from the doorman. Inside, the ballroom was a spectacle of excess, its crystal chandeliers casting golden light across marble floors, its walls adorned with oil paintings of stern-faced DuPont ancestors. Men in tuxedos and women in glittering gowns twirled to the music of a jazz orchestra, their masks a kaleidoscope of feathers and gold, their laughter a brittle shield against the city's growing unease. Julien kept to the edges, his mask a simple black one that hid half his face, his dark eyes scanning the crowd for Marcel DuPont. The patriarch was in his 60s, a tall man with silver hair and a commanding presence, known for his ruthlessness in business and politics. Julien spotted him near the grand staircase, his mask a gilded lion, his voice booming as he toasted with a glass of champagne, his guests hanging on his every word. Celeste moved through the crowd with the grace of a seasoned infiltrator, her feathered mask accentuating her green eyes, her smile charming a young man into a dance as she positioned herself closer to Marcel. She caught Julien's eye, a subtle nod signaling her plan, her voice a low whisper as she passed him. "I'll get him to the library, second floor, West Wing. Meet me there." Julien nodded, guiding Eloise toward the staircase, his hand on her arm as they navigated the crowd, the medallion's glow flaring faintly beneath his shirt, a warning of the danger lurking beneath the glamour. They reached the second floor, slipping into the library, a cavernous room lined with bookshelves, its windows overlooking the garden, a single lamp casting a warm glow across a mahogany desk. Julian positioned himself by the door, his revolver hidden beneath his tuxedo jacket, while Eloise stood near the window, her hands trembling but her expression resolute. Minutes later, Celeste entered, Marcel Dupont at her side, his lion mask removed to reveal a face lined with age but sharp with cunning, his blue eyes glinting with suspicion as he closed the door behind him. "Miss Moreau," he said, his voice smooth but edged with menace, his Creole accent polished by years of wealth. "You said you had information, something about a business deal. I don't take kindly to games." Celeste removed her mask, her green eyes blazing with determination, her voice steady as she pulled Leroux's journal from her purse, slamming it onto the desk. "No games, Mr. Dupont," she said, her journalist's instinct cutting through the tension. "We know you're funding Victor Leroux, his rituals, his murders, his new order for New Orleans. You've been feeding him victims, helping him build power. Why?" Marcel's expression darkened, his hand reaching for a cane leaning against the desk, its silver handle glinting in the lamplight. "You're a bold one," he said, his voice a low growl, his blue eyes narrowing. "But you're meddling in things you don't understand. Leroux is a means to an end, a tool to secure the Dupont legacy. This city is rotting, Miss Moreau. We'll rebuild it, with Leroux as our immortal enforcer, and the Duponts as its rulers." Julian stepped forward, removing his mask, his dark eyes blazing with anger, the medallion's glow flaring brighter as he spoke, his Creole accent thick with defiance. "You're trading innocent lives for power," he said, his voice a growl, his revolver raised. "Leroux's a monster, and you're no better. Tell us where he is, or this ends now." Marcel laughed, a cold, hollow sound that echoed through the library, his hand tightening on the cane as he pressed a hidden mechanism, the silver handle popping open to reveal a concealed blade. "You think you can threaten me in my own house?" he said, his voice dripping with contempt. "Leroux's already on his way. He'll have your soul, marked one, and I'll have your heads." Before Julian could react, the library doors burst open, two vampires entering with a hiss, their red eyes glowing, their fangs glinting in the lamplight. Their pale skin and fluid movements marked them as Leroux's enforcers, their claws extended as they lunged, their hisses a chorus of death. Julian raised the medallion, its light flaring brighter, burning the nearest vampire as it reached for him, its skin sizzling as it shrieked in pain. He fired his revolver, the gunshot muffled by the thick walls, the bullet hitting the second vampire in the chest, drawing black blood as it staggered but kept coming. Celeste fired her derringer, the shot grazing Marcel's shoulder, forcing him to drop the cane as he snarled, his blue eyes burning with rage. "You'll pay for that," he spat, lunging for her. But Eloise intercepted, her knife flashing as she slashed at his arm, her beads replaced by a fierce determination, her voice a desperate cry. "Stay away from her." The vampires closed in, their movements too fast, their claws slashing at Julian, who dodged, the medallion's light burning them with every strike, but his side throbbed, the stitches straining as blood seeped through his bandages. Celeste grabbed a letter opener from the desk, stabbing the second vampire in the neck, its black blood splattering as it shrieked, giving Julian the opening to press the medallion against its chest, its light searing through its flesh, dropping it in a lifeless heap. The first vampire lunged for Eloise, its claws slashing at her arm, drawing a cry of pain as she stumbled back, her knife falling to the floor. Julian tackled the vampire, the medallion burning its back as he wrestled it to the ground, his revolver pressed to its head as he fired, the shot ending its hissing with a final spurt of black blood. Marcel seized the moment, grabbing Celeste from behind, his arm around her throat, his voice a venomous hiss as he dragged her toward the window. "You'll never stop us," he said, his blue eyes glinting with malice. "Leroux's already rebuilding. He'll have the marked one, and the DuPonts will rise. Julian stood, his revolver raised, his dark eyes blazing with fury, his voice a growl. "Let her go, DuPont," he said, his Creole accent thick with emotion, the medallion's glow flaring brighter. "Or I end you right now." Marcel's grip tightened, but Celeste stomped on his foot, twisting free as she elbowed him in the gut, her green eyes blazing with defiance as she spun, grabbing the cane and pressing the blade to his throat. "Where's LaRue?" she demanded, her voice a fierce whisper, her journalist's composure a mask for the storm inside. Marcel's eyes widened, fear breaking through his arrogance, his voice a trembling whisper. He's at the old warehouse on Chapatula Street," he said, his blue eyes darting to the door. "He's gathering his forces, more vampires, more ghouls. He'll come for you, marked one soon." Julian nodded, his jaw tight, his dark eyes meeting Celeste's, a silent agreement passing between them. "We've got what we need," he said, his voice gruff, his Creole accent softening with exhaustion. "Tie him up, Eloise, use the curtains. We'll leave him for the police." Eloise nodded, her arm bleeding but her expression resolute as she tore down a curtain, using the fabric to bind Marcel's hands, her voice a shaky whisper. "You're done, DuPont," she said, her beads replaced by a fierce determination, her gaze darting to Julian and Celeste. "Let's go, before LaRue gets here." They slipped out of the library, leaving Marcel bound and gagged, the ballroom's music a distant hum as they navigated the mansion, their masks discarded, their steps quick and silent. The air outside was cooler, the gaslights casting long shadows as they made their way back to the Model T, the medallion's glow flaring brighter, a warning of the danger still ahead. Julian's side throbbed, his vision blurring from the strain, but he pushed through, his dark eyes meeting Celeste's, a silent promise to see this through. "Chapatula Street," Celeste said, her voice a tense whisper, her green eyes filled with resolve as she clutched LaRue's journal, the weight of the conspiracy pressing down on them. "We've got a location, Julian. We can end this, but we need to be ready. He'll be expecting us." Julian nodded, his hand finding hers, his voice a low rumble, his Creole accent a soft cadence in the night. "We'll be ready," he said, his dark eyes filled with a warmth that scared him as much as LaRue did. Together. As they drove back into the heart of New Orleans, the city's lights a flickering promise of hope and danger, Julian felt the weight of the future pressing down. The warehouse, LaRue, the DuPonts, new order. New Orleans was a city of masks, and they were about to unmask its darkest secret.